So now on our radio transmission, we're talking to Joe all about this year's Sheppey Promenade 18 Arts and Heritage Festival. Joe, once again, it's great to speak to you. I was hoping you could just sort of tell us a little bit about the Promenade Festival, give our listeners a bit of an introduction.
Hello, Dan. Nice to speak to you. Yes. Just to give people a sense of what Sheppey Promenade is, it's a biannual festival of creativity for the island, and it culminates in a week in July of events. It's now in its 9th year, and it's based out of Rose Street Cottage of Curiosities, which is a small heritage museum and an arts centre in Sheerness. Sheppey Promenade Charity runs both the cottage and the festival, and it's funded by Heritage Lottery Fund this year. It has a theme every year, and this year's theme is women's work in World War One and the suffrage movement, and it's got 2 strands to the project.
Well, I was hoping you could tell us a bit more about the research.
Right. Well, one of the strands is we're doing research. We're actually working with the University of Kent. They have a project called Gateways to World War One, and they have trained us in how to carry out this research. We're working alongside Minster Gatehouse Museum, Sheppey Local History Society members, people from the Aviation Museum at East Church, the Criterion Blue Town, Ideas Testing Sittingbourne, and the Aspirations 50 Plus group, who are based in Halfway. And people from all those various groups are doing joint research to uncover the stories of island women in World War One. That is, what sort of work were they doing for the war effort? And we've already found, for example, that at the airfield at East Church, there were women who were certainly involved in the military on that base. And we're also looking in relation to the women's suffrage movement as well, because that was also happening up to and through the war as well. And we are beginning to find some very interesting stories about the island at the time. And our intention is to run an exhibition at Rose Cottage when we've pooled and compiled the research. And we're also going to put it onto a central area so that it can be available publicly. And we think that will be a legacy to add into the history of the island. So an example of the sort of thing that we found is that at Ridham Dock, there were women who were working to refurbish soldiers' uniforms. Really a very sad and it must have been a very gruesome thing to be doing, but they would take all the uniforms from the soldiers that are at the front who had either died or had been injured, bring them back to Ridham Dock. They would be mended, they would be washed, they would be sewn up, and then they would be sent back out for the next lot of soldiers. And we've already done some workshop sessions where kids from island schools actually made giant rope from pieces of recycled material to actually reflect this idea of recycling uniforms. And what the women did was they actually sewed messages into these uniforms. They weren't really supposed to do it, but I mean, as you can imagine, they were trying to sort of help with the morale of the soldiers. So they would put in things like "come back safely," missing you, that type of thing. So what we've asked the kids to do is to write messages that will go onto this giant rope, and that's also going to be carried in the Equality Parade on the 28th of July. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, a bit more detail, but that's the idea. It's a rope because we want to actually reflect the history of Sheerness docks. There would have been rope making going on for the sailing ships, all sorts of things going on in the docks. So that is the link.
So tell us a bit more about some of the events reflecting the theme.
Well, with Big Fish Arts, we have been running events from the beginning of the year, we have had a World War One suffragette costume sketching evening, where some members of the Sharks dressed up and people came along and did sketching. And we've also had a equalities. So that's something that's has been run through the government to kind of celebrate the women and women getting the vote, and those sorts of things have been going on throughout the year. So we've run a few of those. And we've also run an exhibition about the island and the history of the island during World War One. We've been making banners and we've been making hats during May and June. And we've actually created a giant banner which kind of reflects the theme of the women's suffrage movement, but also brings it up to date as well. What kind of things that relate to equality are people still fighting for? So we've created a giant banner with the help of local people that have come along to the workshops, and we've taken that to both Whitstable Biennale and to Processions 2018 that happened in London in May, and that was a really, really big event, thousands and thousands of people. So we've sort of flown the flag to Sheppey, if you like, a little bit there. So those are the sorts of things that's been happening through the year and are continuing to happen.
I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about the week, when it runs from, and a little bit about what's happening in that week as well.
Yeah, well, as I said, the highlight really of the Promenade year is the week, which runs from the 21st to the 29th of July. And there are events, all sorts of events running throughout that week all over the island. So just to give you sort of a little rundown, we've got an arts exhibition running through that week at Rose Cottage in Sheerness. We've also got another exhibition which is relating to Sheppey's World War One history. That's at Bluetown, so the Bluetown Heritage Centre, which is at the Criterion Bluetown in Bluetown itself. So that is running from the 24th to the 28th of July. We've also got a silver band concert, and we do that every year, and it's always very successful. It's a nice occasion. It's in the beach field, so near the Healthy Living Centre, where the gardens are there in Sheerness. There are things like classical concert running at Queenborough Church. We've got 3 different artists from Sheppey running open houses around the island. We've got a costumed history walk with Steve Shanties, a joining anyone at Queenborough. We've got various things going on at Sheppey Little Theatre. So we've got a Girls on Film event with a suffragette talk and a film. We've also got a comedy drama called Ministry of Biscuits at Sheppey Little Theatre. And there's other things as well. Minster Abbey Gatehouse are holding an open day where they're going to inviting people to look at their family history. And we've also got readings, poetry readings, and we've got lantern slide making and a lantern show. And the biggest thing, the sort of highlight of it all, is Saturday the 28th of July, we have the Equality Parade. So that's going to be, the Sheerness High Street will be closed, and the Equality Parade will go through the High Street. And the parade is on the theme of the suffrage movement and its relevance to us today. So we are aiming to celebrate the progress that women have made in the last 100 years and highlight the issues that are still being fought for. So the parade's open to everybody. We've been working on involving the young people. They're going to be carrying the giant rope that we've been making with all the messages on as part of the parade. And you're welcome to come along with or without banners, dressed up if you like doing that, but there's nothing that says you have to. It's just to have a really celebratory day through the town. And there'll be other things going on as well. There's going to be a dance from the Great Thames, called the Great Thames Disaster at the Clock Tower. There's going to be a band leading the parade. We're going to have the ukulele band coming along and playing, and there's going to be various street theatre things happening as well. So it's going to be a very busy and I think very, very enjoyable day. And but because the road will be closed, we're also going to have arts and crafts stalls down the street as well. So busy and enjoyable day, I think.
And I also understand there's going to be a big fish arts community play on the theme.
Yes, we've just started rehearsing a musical play. It was written by a lady called Maria Clark, who's actually from Sittingbourne, but we've adapted the play, and she's quite happy for us to do that. We've adapted it to have relevance to Sheppey, and it's all about the work that women were doing in World War One, and it tells their story. So we're going to be performing it in September and in October again, first at Laysdown Bandstand, and then we're going to be performing it at Queenborough in October.
So if our listeners would like to find out more, I was hoping you could go over any further details or information that might be of use to them.
There'll be lots of different ways of finding out information. If you look out in shops and cafes and things, we've got thousands of leaflets being distributed around the island. There will be things in the Times Guardian if you find out your information that way in the run-up to it. If you look online for your information, you'll find that there is a Sheppey Promenade page on Facebook. There is also a Twitter account, and the handle for that is A Rose Cottage of Sea. And if you search for hashtag Sheppey Promenade 2018, all one, that will find you all the things that are related to Sheppey Promenade. Or you can alternatively go onto the website, and that's sheppeypromenade.co.uk. So lots of different ways of finding out.
Well, Jo, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to me.
You're very welcome, Dan. Yeah, speak to you again soon.